What if the stories you've heard about America's past are only fragments of a much deeper, more complicated truth? Beneath the surface of American history, there are stories rarely spoken, tales of conflict, survival, and the fate of women caught between two worlds. Today, we step into the lives of those who endured the violent clashes between colonists and native tribes, focusing on the women whose destinies were forever altered. Let's uncover a perspective often ignored: how Native American societies treated women taken captive during these turbulent times. Was it always brutality, or is there more beneath the surface? Across the continent, Native peoples had their own codes for handling prisoners, codes that didn't always match the stories you've heard. Whether the captives were from rival tribes or foreign settlers, the rules were surprisingly consistent. So what really happened to women taken in these conflicts? Let's journey back and see what history has hidden. When European settlers and native tribes collided, the results were often tragic. Sometimes children caught in raids were killed instantly. But those who survived could find themselves adopted, raised as full members of the tribe. Men faced a different fate. Some were kept as hostages, others met slow, painful deaths. One of the earliest stories comes from Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca and his companions captured in what's now Texas. These men, skilled in healing, quickly earned respect and even freedom of movement among their captors. But what about the women? Their destinies ranged from tragic to unexpectedly honored. Young girls, especially not yet grown, were often cherished by their new communities. Some, like Cynthia Ann Parker, were taken as children and rose to prominence within their adoptive tribes. Cynthia became a respected member, married a chief, and gave birth to Quanah Parker, the last great Comanche leader. Even after being rescued, Cynthia tried to return to her tribal family, longing for the life she'd come to love. Another tale is that of Millie Durgan, a child raised in captivity who married a Kiowa warrior and lived contentedly into old age. But not every story ended happily. Some captives, like Matilda Lockhart, harbored deep resentment and sought revenge for their suffering. Matilda's ordeal came to light during a tense council meeting in San Antonio, revealing the hidden plight of many captives. Yet within many Native societies, violence against female captives was condemned. Their moral codes forbade such acts, and violence toward any captive was often frowned upon. If a woman didn't wish to stay or marry within the tribe, her fate usually depended on ransom. Women became valuable, sometimes traded back to their families through intermediaries. Importantly, captives weren't forced to join tribes against their will. If they chose to stay, they were welcomed. If not, they waited for ransom. Young girls were frequently adopted by chiefs' families, seen as strong, attractive, and worthy of respect. This tradition became a way to honor successful warriors who might marry the chief's daughter as a reward. Cynthia's story shows that many who stayed with their tribes struggled to adjust after being returned to their birth families. Sometimes, life in the so-called civilized world felt less welcoming than the tribal communities they'd grown to love. Home isn't always where you started, it's where you're accepted. Let's look at the infamous Oatman Massacre for another example. The Oatman family, traveling west, was ambushed by warriors, likely Yavapai, leaving only two sisters, Olive and Mary Ann, and their brother Lawrence alive. Lawrence survived to tell the tale, but the sisters were taken captive. Their early days were harsh: forced labor, humiliation, and physical punishment. Olive feared for their lives every day. After a year, the Mojave tribe visited and upon discovering the girls, ransomed them. Suddenly, Olive and Mary Ann found themselves in a new tribe where they were adopted by the chief's family and treated with kindness. Olive later said the Mojave treated them better than their own daughters. They were freed from labor and marked with facial tattoos, symbols of belonging. Yet tragedy struck when famine claimed Mary Ann's life. A visiting outsider noticed Olive among the Mojave, prompting the U.S. military to demand her return. At first, the tribe tried to hide her, but threats of violence forced their hand. Olive, then 19, was told to hide her American identity, but she revealed the truth in broken English. This angered some, but the chief and his wife protected her. Eventually, Olive was reunited with her brother and returned to civilization. But did she ever truly come home? Olive confessed to missing her Mojave husband and sons, and neighbors noticed she never smiled the same way again. Sometimes freedom means leaving a piece of yourself behind. These stories reveal a complex reality. Not all captives suffered, and some found new families and identities. The lines between victim and survivor, outsider and insider, were often blurred. So, what do we make of these hidden histories? The truth is layered, full of pain, resilience, and unexpected bonds. If you found this journey eye-opening, hit like and subscribe to Winds of Thought for more untold stories. What era or civilization should we explore next? Drop your thoughts below. But the story doesn't end there. To truly understand the fate of captive women, we must look deeper into the customs and beliefs that shaped these societies. In many tribes, the act of taking captives was not just about war or vengeance, it was also about survival, community, and sometimes even compassion. For some, adopting captives was a way to replace lost family members, to heal the wounds of conflict, or to strengthen the tribe's future. For others, it was a means of gaining status or fulfilling spiritual beliefs. The experiences of captive women varied widely. Some were treated as family, given new names, and allowed to participate fully in tribal life. They learned new languages, adopted new customs, and sometimes even rose to positions of influence. Others, however, faced hardship, isolation, and the constant hope of rescue or escape. The choices they made, whether to assimilate, resist, or seek freedom, were shaped by their circumstances, their personalities, and the opportunities available to them. Historical records tell us that some women, after years in captivity, chose to remain with their adoptive families even when given the chance to return to their birth communities. The bonds they formed, the children they raised, and the lives they built became more meaningful than the world they had left behind. For others, the longing for home never faded, and the trauma of their experiences left lasting scars. The story of Cynthia Ann Parker is a powerful example of this complexity. Taken as a child, she grew up among the Comanche, married a chief, and became the mother of a legendary leader. When she was eventually rescued and returned to her birth family, she struggled to adapt, longing for the life and loved ones she had lost. Her story, like so many others, challenges our assumptions about identity, belonging, and the meaning of home. Similarly, the tale of Olive Oatman reveals the resilience and adaptability of those who survived captivity. Marked by the Mojave with distinctive tattoos, she became a symbol of both suffering and survival. Her eventual return to white society was fraught with difficulty as she navigated the expectations of her new life while mourning the loss of her Mojave family. These stories, and countless others like them, remind us that history is rarely simple. The experiences of captive women were shaped by a complex web of factors: war, culture, family, and personal choice. Their stories deserve to be told, not as tales of victimhood or heroism, but as nuanced accounts of human endurance and transformation. As we reflect on these hidden histories, we're reminded that the past is never truly gone. The echoes of these stories can still be heard today, in the lives of their descendants, in the traditions of their communities, and in the questions we continue to ask about identity, belonging, and the meaning of freedom. So, as you listen to these stories, consider what they reveal about the world we live in now. How do we define home? What does it mean to belong? And how do we honor the resilience of those who came before us? Thank you for joining us on this journey into the past. If you found these stories compelling, please like this video and subscribe to Winds of Thought for more explorations of history's hidden chapters. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What era or civilization should we explore next? Your curiosity helps keep these stories alive. And remember that the truth of history is often more complex, more surprising, and more human than we imagine. By looking beyond the surface, we can discover the connections that bind us all, across time, culture, and experience.